Tudo bem?
Here. Estamos começando mais uma Wikimetal Happy Hour! Dessa vez com o grande Tony Dolan, the Demolition Man!
Come on.
Where are you, brother? Where are you, my friend?
I am in London. I'm in London.
You live in London?
I live in London, yeah. It's quite late here, but it's always good to come to Brazil. And with COVID-19, if this is how I get to come, then I'm glad I'm here.
That's right. I have to translate briefly everything you say, but I'll be really quick. Eu tô falando para ele. Primeiro, queria pedir desculpas a todos que estão assistindo. Ele se confundiu um pouco com o horário. A pessoa que marcou a entrevista acabou também se confundindo um pouco. Em vez das 4 horas de diferença de Londres para São Paulo, eles acharam que era... Se confundiram, acharam que era... Ele estava pronto para começar daqui a 1 hora. Então, ele acabou entrando mais cedo do que esperado. So, man, you're in London now. I know you're from Newcastle, right?
Yes, that's it. All the Venom boys were all native from Newcastle. They call us Geordies. So I'm a Geordie, but I've lived in London. I moved here maybe almost 30 years ago now. So I've been here for a long time. But
eu estava perguntando para ele. Sorry?
But I like it. It's a capital city, but it's vibrant with music. There's a very great Brazilian community here, so I get the best food still. But yeah, but it's a great place to live. So I do like it.
Yeah, I love London.
Not Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo, but it's okay.
The weather and the food might not be as good as the what we have here in Brazil, but yeah, I think the local music, the music you have there, it's probably much better than our traditional Brazilian music.
Well, I don't know. Our traditional British music pretty much sucks, but as far as I'm concerned, I prefer Brazilian music. But yeah, I think I think what I like the fact that it's very vibrant with its music and its culture and its art and its food, and there's people from the whole planet live here, so you hear all kinds of voices and there's all kinds of culture all mixed in, and I love that because particularly now when we can't travel so easily like before, so we can't tour. So for me to be in a city where I can eat a dish from anywhere in the world, between Greece and Peru, or I can hear language from everywhere in the world, I can see people from all over, it gives you a chance to, even in a lockdown situation, you still feel connected to the planet, because we're on one planet, so we're all on the same planet. We may live in different countries with different fucked up governments, but we've all got them. But but we're just the same species, and we're living on one planet, and it's all ours. So to have a community that's completely mixed from all over the planet is wonderful to have. And I love people, I love traveling, I love language, I love food, I love music. So what's better than that? Nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Eu estava falando com ele sobre... Ele está em Londres, né? Apesar de ser natural de Newcastle. Ele falou que é Jody.
That's it.
É o apelido que o pessoal de Newcastle tem. Mas ele falou que gosta muito de morar em Londres, que é uma cidade que tem de tudo, né? Que tem gente do mundo inteiro, tem comida de qualquer lugar do mundo. É uma cidade muito vibrante, tem música o tempo inteiro. Eu até brinquei que a música deles, né, a música local deles é bem melhor do que a nossa. Mas, por outro lado, a gente tem a comida aqui que talvez seja melhor do que a deles. Mas ele falou que não, que ele tem muita coisa ruim também lá, mas enfim, gosta muito de morar em Londres, já mora há mais de 30 anos. So, tell me, before we start chatting about, all kinds of subjects, I want to tell all of our people who are watching that Venom Inc. will be in Brazil next year on the 29th of May, playing a festival in Joinville, right?
That's exactly right. I was going to do that at the end. I was going to say that at the end as a big surprise, but okay. Yeah, no, we're playing Armageddon Metal Fest. So 2021 Armageddon Metal Fest, because I saw I saw the bill was coming up soon, and some friends of mine were playing. And so I was like, wow, yeah, I'd really like to play that. Looks really cool. And of course, I love to get to Brazil whenever I can. And I was like, wow. And then the promoter then got in touch and said, would you guys like to? I said, of course. So we worked it all out with Nuclear Blast Brazil and through the agents, and we're going to make it happen. So yeah, I think it's the 29th of May 2021. And we're going to do Armageddon, which will go announced tomorrow. Of course, I've announced it now, but it will go out tomorrow.
I have.
Well, you did.
Well, my friend is the publicist. He told me that I should do it, so that's why I did it. It's not my fault. Anyway, it's great. It's great that you be here again. I don't know if you visited Joinville. Joinville is a really nice city in the south of Brazil. They have very good craft beer. They have very, very good breweries there. Local breweries. You must try those. You have to remember that. They have very good seafood. I don't know if you're into seafood, but south of Brazil, the water it's colder, and they have great shrimps and all kinds of fish. So you'll be playing with. There's some great bands on the lineup. There's Nasty Savage. There's some classic Brazilian bands, Volcano, Mutilator. There's a Canadian band called The Agonists. There's some pretty cool bands, and now Venom Inc., man.
Yeah, baby. Well, the thing is, Mutilator are great bands. I know those guys, and they're an amazing band. The Agonists, of course, friends, I guess, as well. And Nasty Savage, Ronnie and the guys. I mean, we go back, we toured, their first tour of Europe was in 1988. They came from Florida, and we went through Europe, and we actually went behind the Iron Curtain, which was still up.
Oh, wow.
We went and played Poland, and we played a stadium in the south of Poland, and it was called the Spodek, and there was 25,000 people inside and about 2,000 outside. It was amazing. And me and Ronnie have kept in touch, of course, and Dave, the guitarist. And so that was one of the other things, because I knew they were going to do it. I was like, why don't we just meet in Brazil? Wouldn't that be amazing after all these years to be in such an amazing place and to have such a great lineup? It's going to be something special. And of course, during lockdown, we've been working.
Oops. Deu uma travadinha. I missed you for a while. I think maybe your connection. There's some. Oh.
To the other.
Hang on. You'll be back.
There we are.
Yeah, you're back now.
During the lockdown, I had had an operation for a new hip. So in November of last year, so the idea was we could work on our new music. A new release, and of course then the COVID thing meant we were completely locked down, so that's what we spent our time doing, amongst other things. So we're just completing the new album now, so by the time we get to come down there, we'll have the new album out, and plus we'll put a magic show together, so we're really excited about it. It's going to be
That's great. I remember when Nasty Savage, they used to break a TV on the show. I don't know if they still do that.
Yeah, Ronnie.
Now they should break some computers or something.
Yes, I think so. Or some government.
Or telephones. Just to throw the telephone.
Yeah, iPhones. Bring an iPhone 8.
Yeah. No, it's too expensive. Don't do that. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
Eu tava falando pra ele.
Ronnie used to would invite you if you came to the show. You could bring a TV, and he didn't care how big it was because he used to wrestle. So he was a wrestler, and part of his gig was you could bring any size TV, give it to him, he'd throw it up and smash the tube on his chest on stage. And it was amazing because I thought that's some kind of wacky gimmick, but he can still do it, and it's amazing when you see him do it. It's like, oh my God, it's just like. And these days they're flat screen TVs and they're quite light, but it was like an old time TV.
I know. It was like a big thing.
Yeah, that was a big old piece of shit. So, and he would smash it. So, yeah, amazing. But,
eu tava falando com o Tony sobre os shows no Brasil, né? Eles vão fazer A gente acabou de anunciar aqui oficialmente que o Venom Inc. vai ser uma das principais atrações do Armageddon Metal Fest. Vai acontecer no dia 29 de maio em Joinville, no Joinville Square Garden, junto com o Venom Inc. Já foram anunciadas bandas como The Agonist, do Canadá, Nasty Savage, da Flórida, o Volcano e o Mutilator, são bandas clássicas dos anos 80 aqui do Brasil. Let me ask you, Tony, you're under 20 years old when Venom was
I see.
kicking everybody's ass in the beginning of the 80s. Yeah, and I know you started your own band, Atomcraft, not much later than that. Why? I mean, Venom was a very original band. They were, in my opinion, when I first heard them, it was as if Motorhead got even faster and even heavier and started talking about Satan and all that shit. So, what were you doing when Venom started in Newcastle? Did you used to see them live? Did you go see them live at the time?
Well, you know, we all kind of, it was a kind of a small community, a small town, really, city, but in the north of England, quite small. But I had my band before Venom were Venom. And then I actually met Conrad. Kronos became Kronos when I went with my band before we were punk, before we were a metal band, and we went to a studio to record a demo. So we went to have a look around the studio, and there was a very young, skinny guy in there who was the studio op, and they said, "Oh, he'll show you around," and it was Conrad. And where I live with my mother across the road, there was a girl who had this boyfriend who I used to see all the time with cowboy boots on and long blonde hair, and her little brother would come to mine and we'd jam on the guitar and listen to music and stuff. And he said to me one day, "Oh, my girlfriend's my sister's boyfriend, he's in a band." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." And then I didn't think about it. And then a few months later, I was doing gigs and playing and stuff, and he came and knocked on the door and said, "Oh, my sister's boyfriend, they made a record," and he gave me this record to listen to, and it was In League with Satan. And I was like, "Oh shit!" It wasn't the fact that they'd made the music; it was the fact that somebody I knew, who I saw, had made a record. Because I thought that was impossible. I was like, "Well, that's impossible. Deep Purple make records, Black Sabbath make records, but people like us don't make records." So it was like, oh my God, it blew my mind. And one of my girlfriend's best friends had started seeing some guy, and we went to visit on one Sunday, and she said, "Oh, my boyfriend, because my boyfriend's in a band." And I went, "Yeah, isn't everybody?" And she went, "Yeah, but they've just done photos for their album." And I said, "They're making an album? Oh my God, they're a real band." And she went, "Yeah, they went down to the beach." And I was like, "The beach? What the fuck?" And then she showed me these photocopies, not even like on her phone, just photocopies of photographs. And it was the session for the back, what became Welcome to Hell.
Oh, wow.
So, I was around it all the time. And of course, I was playing really punk metal mixture, dirty stuff as well. And, so when I first listened to Venom stuff, apart from the satanic, it was just what I was into, because Motorhead was my love. And here, exactly how you described it was like something even uglier, just talking about Satan. So I didn't worry about the Satan thing, but I just liked the energy in there. And then we used to have like community centers, community churches, and all the bands used to rehearse in church halls, because
not that band.
No, they did. We all did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because the priests, it wasn't like, ooh, spooky, it's Jesus and Satan. The priests didn't care, because we were young kids. So they were like, it was a community spirited thing. So they didn't listen to the shit anyway. So they didn't get it. But you used to go and rehearse in a church hall, which is ironic, But yes, I actually saw Venom play a place called the Methodist Church to about 50 people, or 50, and then another place called the Memorial Hall, which was like maybe 25 people or something like that. And they were just doing their thing. Like, you know, I played pubs and little clubs too in the same thing. And they were just learning the game because, you know, it was extreme. You know, all the bands were trying to look like Def Leppard and all of that kind of stuff, and trying to be Led Zeppelin or something like that. And there was these bands that were like punk and metal and trying to find themselves and be different. And Venom was one of them. Of course, they did the single. The single made them get the album deal, and the album hit the world, and everybody went, "What the fuck is that?" And everything changed from there. So, you know, I mean, it could have been them, it could have been somebody else first, but I think uh, I always used to say that the world is better with Venom than without Venom in any format, because they punched a hole through a corporate wall where young bands couldn't go. So what they did was very much like the Sex Pistols or punk rock did in the 70s. They said to young musicians, if you want to do it, you can do it. Just do it. You don't need somebody in a suit to tell you can. And that's why the world changed. And, you know, you have Bathory. Well, he was quote unquote Bathory, you know, after Countess Bathory. And you had, you know, King Diamond and Tom with Hellhammer, and then, you know, Celtic Frost, and, you know, Chuck Shoulders. His first band was called Mantis, you know. So it's like, you know, the influence just came out. And if you think about it now, I mean, of course, you have the black metal thing and everything that changed since then. But, you know, so many bands were called after Venom songs, like from Die Hard to Bloodlust to you name it, you know. So sometimes there's a bit of a discussion about the influence of Venom and black metal, the genre. And it's like, well, you know, Venom called themselves black metal, and the reason they called the album and themselves black metal is because they wanted to distinguish themselves from everything else. They went, we're not heavy metal, we're not Judas Priest, we're not Rush or Kiss, we're this. And they said, well, what is this? And they went, okay, we're black metal. But the genre which came later was more influenced by the orchestration of the Scandinavians, you know, Quorthon and that progression, Blood for Ice and all of that kind of stuff. And that became symphonic, you know. And when you listen to Immortal and Mayhem, there's this symphonicness to it, you know, and you get to by the time you get to Dimmu Borgir and stuff like that, it's like, oh my God, you know, and it's like classic compositions, classical compositions mixed with metal. It's fantastic, very scenic. But Venom was more in your face, having fun, because where we come from, we enjoy life. So we laugh a lot and we take the piss a lot, and you find that in Venom. The comedy, the humor's in there too. We didn't take it life too seriously. The music they were serious about, but the enjoyment, they had fun with it. And some bands got a bit too serious and burnt churches and did all kinds of stuff. And but you know, even that wasn't, you know, even when the church burnings and all of that, you know, the misconception generally was, you know, it was about these satanic guys, you know, burning down this and fucking Christ and all that. But basically, it was about the fact that they just thought their pagan mythology was so great, you know, Thor, Odin, Styx, all of this, you know, Ride of the Valkyries. They had this great mythology, and they were told that by Christians, much like what's happened in South America by the Spanish, you can't follow that shit anymore. You just got to follow this. So they built all these churches. And I think what happened in the 90s was they were inspired to just go, we want our culture back. So they basically said, why don't you fuck your Christianity, get out of our country, because you forced it on us in the first place, and we want our culture back. And so that's mainly why the churches were burned, not because they were worshipping Satan, just because they were going, fuck off with your shit, we want our own shit back, you know. And I think culturally, why not? A country wants to have its culture. You have to look at the Mayans and the Incas. Unfortunately, they can't burn churches anymore because they were fucking
They're all dead.
decimated and eradicated by the Spanish. But you know, that's the history of the world. You know, we like to. What I always find amazing is we can find a cure for cancer at the same time as we can drop a nuclear bomb on a country. We can build the most amazing structures, the tallest structure in the world, the longest structure in the world, the most amazing pedestal building in the world, the most glassed building in the world, the most beautiful scaped buildings in the world, and we can also destroy a country in a matter of hours without a second thought. Because
there's a lot of contradiction in humans in general. You know, here in Brazil, we have all these religious freaks that are against abortion, but they're pro death penalty. So what is it doesn't make any sense. You don't want to kill because you don't want to kill a fetus, but you want to kill someone after they're 30 years old because they have done anything. But anyway, it's just how humans are. And let me just translate, because you spoke about some really interesting stuff. Eu estava falando com ele sobre o começo do Venom, e ele é de Newcastle também, e o Venom também era de Newcastle, e ele é um pouco mais jovem que o Cronos, que o Mantas e o Abaddon, mas eles falaram que ele falou que eles se cruzavam muito. Ele contou uma história engraçada, que o Venom começou a fazer shows e o padre não entendia muito o que queriam dizer as letras, mas enfim, era mais uma coisa de brincadeira, né? Era uma coisa de como se fosse um filme de terror. A história do satanismo eles não levavam muito a sério, não como o black metal acabou virando mais para frente, né? Apesar de essa segunda onda do black metal que aconteceu na Noruega, essas bandas que queimaram igrejas, toda aquela história, mas tudo tem um motivo, né? Eles estavam querendo realmente trazer de volta a cultura deles na época. Ele contou várias histórias interessantes, mas é difícil a gente conseguir traduzir tudo. And it's amazing how influential Venom was, because you're saying that it's very different from the black metal that was played in Europe, in Scandinavia afterwards. But at the same time, I think that it's probably there probably wouldn't be any Norwegian or Swedish or Finnish black metal bands if there wasn't Venom. And also thrash metal bands, they all were crazy about Venom. Metallica, Slayer, Exodus, all these bands, I don't know if they would even exist if it wasn't for Venom. So it's and also I suppose you guys were also influenced, you say punk rock, but the band that was doing a merge between metal and punk rock at the time was Motorhead. Motorhead was a huge influence for anyone that wanted to do something, as you said, really dirty and aggressive. You're probably listening to Motorhead all the time. I mean, and also about their attitude. It's not only the music. I mean, the music was heavy enough and dirty enough, but their attitude had a lot of influence on you guys, I suppose, right?
Absolutely. I mean, my first introduction about 78, 79, early 79 maybe, or 78, end of 78, was an accident when I happened upon Motorhead. And the first thing I heard was Motorhead, and I heard the bass guitar, and I thought it was like a vehicle. I didn't realize it was an instrument, because I was like, what is that sound? And then it hit me like a ton of bricks, and it just changed completely. It just changed me, because I just, before that, music had been corporate, and it had been pop music and rock pop and controlled and contrived and commercial and arena rock, and I'm not saying that they weren't good. I used to live in Canada. I saw Kiss in the early days, Ted Nugent and Aerosmith, and I was used to seeing these kind of formatted bands, but punk gave us the thing that it didn't need to be. You didn't have to own an aeroplane to play rock music. You could just have a guitar, and you could even have less than 6 strings, and you could still be shit, but you could still make music. And as long as you had something to say, you'd find a way to say it. And I think Motorhead, probably because Lemmy didn't want to leave Hawkwind, and he got kicked out, and he just thought, fuck you. So he wanted to do something so out of his anger and being pissed off, that he just went for it, and the result was something that just was shocking. I remember seeing on a TV show, they played Overkill, and up to that point, nobody had really heard double bass drums played like that. Nobody. And I went to school the next day, and everybody was just going, "Did you see that shit on television last night? What the fuck is that?" And I remember standing in the corner thinking, "There's something wrong with me," because I really liked it. And I was thinking, what's wrong with me? Why does everybody hate it? But I liked it. And I think that was inspirational. Of course, it inspired Venom. Uh, um, because again, if they weren't as proficient as musicians in those days, because we were all just learning, but it inspired them to go, you could still do it. Motorhead were not Rush, they were Motorhead. So it just meant you just put your foot down on the pedal and you just let it go. And that inspired everything. And I think yes, the influence of Venom, because all of those bands you mentioned, Metallica, from Metallica through Slayer, all of them, Sodom, Destruction, Celtic Frost, everybody, they then could see it was possible that they could then do their own expressions. So they took what Venom did and it made the rest of it possible. John Zazula took Venom to America for the first time. Metallica opened for them, and he started his label, Megaforce. Brian Slagle, the same thing, was importing records. And once Venom had made it all that this thing could happen, it influenced those LA bands. And you have Metal Blade, and the same thing happened with Neat Records and Music for Nations, and Noise came along. And, we have, so, it kind of just broke the third wall in a way. They punched through it and everybody could look through the hole and go, oh, we can get in there and do it. So I think that's where the influence is, and, sometimes over the years you hear people going, they didn't influence this and they weren't the particular ones that influenced that. And then I look at how many bands use Venom lyrics or Venom titles, or have Venom-esque type of riffs going on, or try to, you have a Countess Bathory, and then you have, I don't know how many bands doing songs called Elizabeth Bathory, the Countess of Blood, or whatever. It's like, well, where did that come from? Nobody was doing that before Venom did Countess Bathory. And, Bloodlust and all the takes on the vampiristic sort of side. And, from Witching Hour to, everything you name that Venom did in those early days has pushed something else along for them to create the war with Satan. And even from the inverted crucifix, from lifting, I mean, you had Pentagram and you had Black Widow, so you had bands before, but Venom and Black Sabbath, of course, which they took those themes from, but they just did it so in your face without any excuses. And that's what shocked people into loving it, because everybody wanted to do the same. Because what does any teenager or young person want to do to their government? You want to go, fuck you. And what do you want to say to your parents? Oh, fuck off. And what do you want to say to your boss at work? Oh, get fucked. So, we just want to
go to hell.
Fuck off. And through
you can burn in hell.
Exactly. And it's almost like through our music, we get to do it. And the two significant things, and I lived through it, was the Sex Pistols, Anarchy in the UK, fuck you AMI, and Venom just going, we're sons of Satan. They weren't going, we like the dark arts and we're mystic and we dance. They went, we're the sons of Satan. We're in league with Satan. It was like
straightforward and
yeah,
in your face.
No bullshit. No. Yes. And of course people related to that straight away, so they could express themselves. Much like Cradle of Filth, one of the biggest selling things of Cradle of Filth in Danny Filth's genius is the T-shirt, Jesus is a cunt. I mean, people wear that even if they don't care about religion, because they know it causes people to go, fuck, you can't wear that. So they wear it, And that's shock value is is good. It means that if you give that to a teenager who's struggling in a community to find their own identity, they can find it through their music. You can have a Pantera tell them to go fuck themselves. You can have a Venom going, we don't give a fuck what they think. You can have a Motorhead going, fuck them, just like drink, smoke, and listen to music and sleep with women. It's a way to have an identity, and I think that's why, as a form of music, I think that's why heavy metal in particular, or extreme metal, however you want to categorize it, I'll put it all together into one bag. That's why our fans, or rock metal fans, are the most loyal fans and so dedicated. So for every 50 people who love me, 3 or 4 people hate me because I'm not Cronus, and and that happens all the time. But it's because music is passion, and in metal it's great passion, and we feel very strongly about it, and it's because it connects us. It connects us to, gives us our identity, gives us something that we can believe in, that's real. And it's important to meet your artist, and that's why we spend so much time meeting fans, and that's important to me. And underground bands, that's important to me, because they're the future, and there may be someone who may have had a very hard time, and your music may have spoken to them, and they may have spent 20 years waiting for a moment to meet you and to get one piece signed or something. And, now they have an opportunity to meet you. There's no way I could just go, we can't meet you. You can't do that. We have to leave, or I have to sleep, or I have to go, or I have to eat, or I have to, if they want to meet, you're going to meet us, because it's important. It's important. I want to hear their story. I want them to meet Jeff and Mantis and whoever's there, and I'm constantly running around bringing people to meet people, because it's really, really important. Yesterday we lost a real brother, Riley Gates, from Power Trip. And he was
I'm
only
sorry, man.
It was really
35 years
difficult.
old.
Yeah.
An amazing talent, and with so much ahead.
Yeah. And we toured together, and he was just a wonderful human being, and he was very real about who he was and what he did. There was no bullshit. There was no rock star stuff. He was just himself, and his authenticity, his realness, is what spoke to his fans and what spoke to Power Trip's fans. And he would stand there for 3 or 4 hours if you wanted to talk to him and tell him everything, and he wouldn't make excuses. He wouldn't look to try and get away, and that's what's special about him. And that's kind of part of the whole process. You have fans that invest their money in you, their time in you, their love in you, and your music connects with them, and so they become part of you. And it's very easy just to spend a few minutes with them, sign, take photos, just talk to them, listen to them. And I think that's a very big part of who we are, but it was also part of who Riley is. And I just want to say he was an amazing person, and a great loss, but will always be remembered.
Ele estava contando várias histórias do começo da banda, e por que muita gente se identificava, né? Porque eles tinham uma atitude verdadeira de rebelião, de se rebelar contra o sistema. Então toda essa parte do satanismo servia para chocar também as pessoas que queriam chocar, seja o professor, ou a família, ou o chefe no trabalho. E então tudo isso contando por que eles tinham essa atitude que vinha um pouco do punk até, e também mostrar que qualquer um poderia fazer aquela música, né? Você não precisava ter um avião para ter uma banda, você não precisava tocar músicas de 10, 15 minutos, fazer solos de 10 minutos em cada música. Você podia, até com menos de 6 cordas na guitarra, você podia fazer sua banda, e eles pegaram um pouco dessa atitude do punk. E aí no final ele falou muito dessa parte da comunidade, né, da gente ser uma comunidade, deles investirem muito tempo e esforço nisso. Eles sempre fazem questão de encontrar os fãs depois dos shows, de assinar o que os fãs levam, de tirar fotos com os fãs, porque eles sabem que isso é importante as pessoas se conectarem, se conectam com a banda, às vezes o cara junta aquela grana dura para ganhar, para ir no show, para comprar o ingresso, para comprar o disco e leva para assinar, então o mínimo que eles podem fazer é isso, muito legal essa atitude dele, e ele lembrou do Riley Gale, que faleceu essa semana, do Power Trip, vocalista do Power Trip, um grande talento. Ele falou que ele tinha acabado de fazer 35 anos, se eu não me engano, e ele falou que ele era assim também, ele era de verdade, era um cara que ele dava muita atenção para os fãs, e é uma pena realmente a morte do Riley. Eles eram muito amigos, eles tinham tocado juntos várias vezes, e ele via isso no Riley, no talento dele do Power Trip, que era tão importante para ele, que incentivar também essas bandas novas, né, a manter o legado e seguir nessa carreira de músicos e fortalecer o heavy metal, né, o metal no geral, que é uma coisa muito importante para a comunidade. That means, did you ever imagine back in the day that you'd become the singer and bass player of Venom?
No. I mean, because we toured with them, with my band, of course.
But because I'm sorry to interrupt you, because you're the perfect choice, right? You're got along with those guys, you're personal friends, so you're the obvious choice, I suppose, right? And you could sing and play all those great songs in a very your own way, but still, heavy as the songs needed.
I mean, I think that's why I guess it happened. We did a tour, and we played with Venom. Of course, I was in parallel with them. We were signed to Neat Records, so we were all friends and hung around. And I did a tour, and Abaddon was on the tour. And when we finished the tour, 1988, we finished this particular tour. And my singer decided, we brought a singer in at the time. He decided he wanted to leave. He was in love with some girl and wanted to follow her. And so it was like, okay. And then the guitarist kind of lost his mind a little bit. So he decided, I'm going to go away and be a street musician and play with puppets or something. I was like, okay. So it was like, right. And then the drummer, Jed, said, well, we can look for a new guitarist. You could just sing and play bass again. And I said, I've been doing Atomcraft since 1978 into 79 in one form or another. It's now 1988, and I'm still being held down by the record company and by lots of political things that were going on within the record company and with the bands in there. And I just said, I don't want to start from the beginning looking for another fucking guitarist now, I think I'm just going to go away and think about it. And in the meantime, I then got a phone call from Eric Cook and Tony Bray, Abaddon, who were now managing the band, because the drummer was Eric Cook's, Eric Cook was the manager of Venom, and my drummer was his brother. So so they called me up and said, can we have a chat? Would you like to go for a drink? So I was like, okay. So we went for a drink, and we were sitting there, and I thought they were going to ask, what do you want to do with Atomcraft? What do you want to do next? Get a new guitarist, audition or whatever. And they started telling me the story about how Kronos, they did Calm Before the Storm. The album didn't do very well, but Kronos got on with the two guitarists very well. One of them lived in America. He decided he wanted to be more Van Halen, so he was going to go to America. So I was like, oh shit, so you're all going to America? And then Abaddon said, no, he's left, he's going to America. So I was like, well, what's happening with Venom? They went, well, we have a new record deal for Music for Nations, and we need a bass vocalist. And I was like, oh, okay. And they said, yeah, someone who knows all the music and knows the band, knows us, is like the biggest fan, if you like, he's the closest person to us. And I was like, okay, I'm sure we can find someone. And I was like trying to think. And then, after a short space of time, they went, can you think of anybody? And I was like, I'm sure it was somebody. And they went, you. And I was like, me? So You know, and I think lots subsequently from then, people said, "Oh, what's it like? You know, you stepped into Kronos's boots," and I said, "You know, that's how you see it. That wasn't how I saw it. You know, I just saw that, as I said before, a world without a Venom is not the world I want to be in, and for good or for bad." And so I thought, well, if Conrad doesn't want to do it anymore, then I'll do it. And I get to play those great songs. I get to hang out with my friends. It's not like I can't play the songs or I don't know them, and I'll enjoy playing them. So for me, it was good. But I had one condition, and that was that Mantis came back in. And there's an anomaly that people have written before, where Abaddon and Mantis got back together, and then they've got the Demolition Man in. But it didn't happen like that at all. What happened was that Abaddon, I told him he needed to have a Mantis. Without a Mantis, there was not going to be a Venom, because you could have Kronos Mantis, you could have Kronos Abaddon, you could have Mantis Abaddon, but you couldn't have just one of them. I didn't see how that could be. Not for me, that couldn't be a Venom. So the problem was that Mantis did not want to work with him anymore, and so he just said no when he was asked. No, and so they had to come to me and go, because me and Jeff were so close, me and Mantis were always so close, could you talk to him? So I basically went and spoke to Mantis, and he said he wouldn't come back unless I would guarantee I'd be doing it. And I said, well, I won't do it unless you come back, because it needs you. And so we agreed, and that's how we did it. And by the time we went into first rehearsal, I'd already written 3 or 4 songs for the album Primeval, you know. And Jeff came in with his stuff, and then ideas on top of what I had, and that was it. It just felt perfect. It felt right. But I never once, you know, even when I was on stage, we went out and toured, and all the fans came out, and we had some great fucking shows, and we played some great festivals with King Diamond and stuff. and the album did really well. And I actually wasn't, personally, I wasn't comparing it to anything that Venom had done before. And I wasn't thinking of me replacing Conrad. I was just in a band that I knew with my friends, carrying on a legacy. And so for me, it wasn't like I was taking anything away from anything that they'd done, or trying to improve it, or trying to change it. I was just being in it. And Primeval, I did it my way. That was my interpretation of that. And if people like that, fantastic. If they didn't like it, well, okay. You know, some people like coffee, some people like tea. But you know, but for me, it was about just maintaining the legacy. I didn't want it to end. And so I made sure it didn't end. Much like with Venom Inc. is the same thing. You know, the whole idea of putting Venom Inc. together was that it was for fans, because fans wanted to also see Abaddon and Mantis, not just Kronos. And it wasn't about putting a band together to be better than Kronos, or to be the same as Kronos, or to cover Kronos, you know, because people have even said, you know, Venom Inc. is it a cover band? It's like, how can you be a cover band if you're playing your own songs? And they can go, right, well, we play songs that I wrote. We play all the songs Mantis wrote, which is all of Welcome to Hell and most of black metal. So it's like, well, we can't be cover band if you're playing your own songs. And I was the person who recorded the vocals on there, so they're talking about me. But it's like, but you have Abaddon and Mantis who were in the band and formed the band. So of course, if they formed the band and then Mantis wrote the songs, how can we be a cover band? We're just a different singer. But it wasn't to take anything away from those fans. It wasn't to combat those fans, or, you know, if you like me, you like me. If you don't like me, tough shit, you know, whatever. Just get on with it. I don't care. You know, don't listen then. Don't come and say, don't listen. You don't have to comment on me. Just don't bother. The same as I don't. You know, I'm not a big Iron Maiden fan. I'm not saying that they're bad. I just like the original Iron Maiden. and I wasn't so much into the Bruce Dickinson Iron Maiden. But I don't go on social media and tell everybody I hate them, because I don't hate them. I like them as people, and I don't go and buy the records so I can say how shit they are, because I don't buy the records because I don't listen to them. I just don't listen. So it's like, we have that kind of choice. But I think for me, it was mainly about the fact that fans wanted to see all of the original members, and they couldn't. So, because they wouldn't come together. So if I could then make everybody could see Mantis and Armageddon, and then Kronos could go out with his band, then everybody got to see everybody. And if he didn't play, because prior to us going out, he wasn't playing the old material. He stopped playing it. He said, people don't want to hear the old material. They want to hear the new material. So I took us out and went, right, we go back to the first single. So, Live Like an Angel became part of a set. We played Red Light Fever. Sons of Satan became our anthem. Schizo, Poison, all the songs that people had not heard, I wanted to play for them to hear with the two original members, at least two original members. And then Conrad started playing those songs in his set, because he realized that, it doesn't matter how good his albums were or how good our albums are. People love those fucking songs. Black Metal, Countess Battery, Bloodlust, Anomaly Satanis, Seven Gates of Hell. It just goes on, and people want to hear them. And not just people our age who were there at the time, but also young audiences who never got to see the band. They just want to see it. They just want to hear it live. And so personally, I thought that was very important, that the music kept going, those songs kept being played, and that if you had an opportunity to see any member, any one member, or all of the members, you should be able to see them. So we ended up being two bands, but it's because of that reason. So fans have a right to see everybody and hear as much of the music as they possibly can, and that's what we do.
But ele estava falando, eu perguntei para ele se ele algum dia imaginou que ele seria o vocalista e o baixista do Venom. Ele contou toda a história da entrada dele na banda, que ele foi o responsável pela volta, né, da formação com o Abaddon e o Mantas, que um não queria tocar com o outro. Ele falou que só entrava na banda se eles tocassem juntos. Então contou várias histórias, e que o Kronos ia para os Estados Unidos fazer um outro tipo de som, e o Abaddon e o Mantas não quiseram ir, e aí ele foi a escolha natural. Eles se encontraram para um drink e convidaram o Demolition Man para entrar na banda. And the good thing that I like is exactly as you said, you don't try to sound like Kronos, and it's really easy to see that on the albums that you recorded. You mentioned the first album you recorded with Venom, Primeval, but we have to talk about the last album, Ave, which was released 3 years ago, and it's a fantastic album. And I was before I interviewed you, I started interviewing you, I was reading all these reviews of the shows, and you came to Brazil last year, and it was very, very positive. Everybody loves the album. Everybody loves the way you perform on stage, and the freshness that you brought to the band. I don't think that anyone is comparing. I mean, you have other bands that replaced that had other singers that became, you probably spend more time as the singer of Venom than even Conrad did.
Yeah.
So, but you always be the new singer, though.
Of course. I think it's like, the magic of music is that the first time you ever hear that song, it could be, Cryptic Slaughter, Power Trip, Metallica, Venom, Motorhead, Deep Purple, whatever it is. The first time you hear that song, and it affects you emotionally, you never lose that. So let's just say it's 1984, and you hear a song called Rip Ride, and it just blows your mind, and you love it. You fall in love with the song, you fall in love with that band, and you want to hear more from that band. Then you find out there's more albums, so you want to hear them. Then you fast forward, 5 or 6 years later, and that lineup isn't there anymore. It's changed. so that the feelings changed. Those people have grown older, so their emotional state has changed. Now they're not as angry about the whole situation in their country, or they've moved to a more comfortable location, so they're not as poor as they were, or whatever. All those things affect you. Maybe they're drinking too much now and smoking too much weed, or maybe they've decided to be a healthier lifestyle, and before they didn't care. So all of those things change us as an individual, and age changes just because we're learning and we're growing and we're maturing. So that album in 1984 is never going to be the same as an album in 1994 or at the end of that century, of that decade, because the people change. And then if those people are not the same people, there's different people in, then there's a different energy, is a different feel. So, you know, it's very difficult for a fan then to accept something different because they feel they've lost what they loved. And Metallica is a classic example. How many times have Metallica, you know, changed their way throughout the years, and everybody wants them, everybody of a certain age wants them to do another Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets, because that's the bit that's when they loved the band. They don't want load, reload, and all that stuff. They want them to be Metallica again. You know, Slayer managed to stay Slayer for their whole career. You know, Metallica tried to go with the times sonically, you know, and that's not what fans want. So it's very difficult to accept something new when you loved this thing so much, you know. And you know, I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan. For me, Ozzy, that lineup, you know, Bill is amazing. 13 is an incredible album, and on that tour they were fucking brilliant. But I also saw Deal with Sabbath, unbelievable. But it was Deal with Sabbath. It was just different, but it was still Sabbath to me, just a different Sabbath. And I think there was, if you're born to Ronnie James Dio and Black Sabbath, you're going to maybe dig Black Sabbath with Ozzy, but not as much as Ronnie James Dio. And that's kind of how it happens, you know. Most young people, when I talk about Iron Maiden, I go, you know, I love the first albums. Yeah, they're okay, but I like this one or this one or this one. And I go, yeah, but that was Bruce. But I liked it with Paul because he was more punk. And they were like, who's Paul? I was going, Paul Diano, you know. But they don't know that, you know. And so for me, I saw them and met Paul at that time. And so that had an impact on me. So the fact that they changed later, I just couldn't get into it as much. But that doesn't mean that they were bad. That just means that I wasn't into it as much as I was into that, because I had an emotional attachment to it. And so, you know, people love and people hate, but I just love as long as you're passionate. And that's what I love about music. You know, it makes you so passionate about what you love and so passionate about what you don't like. And, you know, I don't mind people going, I fucking hate you and I think you're shit and I hate what you do. Because it's the same as people going, I love everything you do and I love you so much and you really mean it. It's not nice to have that, but I think at least that's passionate. It's the person who sits there and go, what do you think of this? And they go, whatever. That's the thing. You go,
That's the word.
You know, you feel you're failing.
Indifference.
If people hate you, yes. If they hate you or love you, you're affecting them somehow. If they're indifferent, you've fucked up. You've gone wrong somewhere. So
that's
it, you know.
That's a good way to see things, and Tony, I'm pretty sure that's why you merge so well with the band, and all the fans accept you so well, because they really feel that you're a real artist, a real person, and speaks from the heart. And when you perform on stage, you also do it. You know, you can feel that you're doing that because you're enjoying being there, and people feel that. It's simple to realize that. Eu estava falando para ele sobre o último disco, o Ave, né? Que é um disco muito bom do Venom. É o primeiro disco pela Nuclear Blast, lançado em 2017. Eu falei para ele, brincando, que ele, apesar de estar na banda, já passou pela banda, né, desde o final dos anos 80, ele sempre vai ser o vocalista novo, né, o baixista novo. Ele falou que tem gente que, quando você conhece a banda com um vocalista, você sempre, e se apaixona pela banda, você sempre vai querer encontrar aquela mesma banda da época que você se apaixonou, né? Por isso que as pessoas não aceitam tanto essas mudanças e tudo. Mas ele está sendo super humilde e simples, porque os fãs realmente, quando eles vieram para o Brasil, ninguém reclamou, ninguém falou mal, pelo contrário, todo mundo elogiou e falou super bem da performance dele ao vivo. And before I let you go, Tony, I know you guys will be here again next year on the 29th of May, playing Joinville at the Armageddon Metal Fest with a great lineup, and we're all going to be there in the south of Brazil. Really nice city, Joinville. I don't think you have been there. You probably like it very much.
I'm very excited and looking forward to it.
Yeah, you have a big relationship. You like Brazil a lot. I heard you have a tattoo with São Paulo on it, or something about São Paulo tattooed on you, right? What is that?
Let me see. How do I get this? Let's see if I can get it. Okay. There it is. São Paulo State.
Oh, wow. Yeah, with skulls. With skulls, right?
Yeah.
Did you get that done while you're here, or you? Why did you like it? Why did you like it so much here?
Well, I just when I was first the tattoo I got last year. I was in it was not Sao Paulo.
Limeira.
It was just outside. Yeah. Curitiba.
Curitiba.
I get it. Yes. No, it wasn't Curitiba. I can't remember. But I went to a record store, and the Mayfair Records, and the guy, the owner of Mayfair, said, "I'm going to take you for lunch." So we went for lunch, and there was an older guy with tattoos, sitting at the table when we had lunch. And then he started talking about tattoos. And I said, yeah, I like to get my tags done, And he said, yeah, I should tattoo you while you're here. I said, oh, yeah, would you? And he was like, yeah, I have a tattoo shop around the corner. And so we went around the corner, and this guy has the tattoo shop. And he said, what do you want? I said, it's got to be something Brazilian. And he said, okay, why don't I put the state of Sao Paulo on? So I said, that's perfect. And he said, I'll do a design. And this guy had, I think he had the one in that district of Sao Paulo. He was an older guy, my age or whatever, but he had the first tattoo shop there, and he was the king of the tattooing in there. And he said, you know who I had in only a couple of days ago? The president of Brazil's wife came in, because he was so well known. She came in to have a tattoo. So I said, wow, this is amazing. You did the president of Brazil's wife, and now you're doing me. I feel so special. So, yeah, but, I was a young man. I was about 16 or 15, and we were at school, and we had a tutorial session, and the teacher said, why don't you just grab a book and just, read. So it was like, okay. So, and they used to have National Geographic magazines. And so I thought, I'll look at something like that because they're colorful and, interesting. And I picked up this magazine, and on the front of the magazine was Jesus on the rocket in Rio. And it was Rio de Janeiro. And it was all about Carnival. And I was looking through these pages, and I was from the north of England, which is a very dark, grey, cold, industrial part of England, very poor, really just shit weather. And I was looking at this amazing, the Copacabana, Ipanema, the, Sugarloaf Mountain, the beers. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know something like that existed. And and at the end of the lecture, at the end of the class, the teacher said, what are you going to do when you leave school? I said, I'm fucking going to go to Brazil. And he was like, I'm in for a job. I'm going to go to Brazil for a job, which I didn't. But
you did. You are coming, kind of.
Yes, I did. That's very true. But yeah, I just had an affinity with it, and from my first visit, I just made a real connection with people in Porto Alegre, in Curitiba, in Bucaramanga, no, sorry, Fortaleza, and of course in Rio and Sao Paulo. And I still have those friends now, and they're so dear to me. And we go and have great Brazilian the meat, food, and and I speak to them, and just beautiful, and I feel at home when I'm there. I feel very at home when I'm in Brazil. I don't know why. Maybe I was Brazilian in a former life or something, but it just feels like home to me. And I embrace the culture. I think it's so beautiful. The people, the food, just everything about it. But can I just, on that theme, can I just name tag a couple of things because Brazilian? Because I did a thing, Prika Amaral from Nervosa is a friend. I took them on tour with us and to Europe, and she called me and said, "Oh, would you do a vocal with me?" I said, "Sure." So they did I think it's going to be a compilation album. It's called Metal Against Coronavirus, and Prika sings with me, but Martin Faria is producing, play guitar. There's Stefano from Aborted and Guilherme from Entombed. We did a track called Brain Dead, and I haven't heard for a while, but it's going to come out on a compilation. But it's specifically for Brazil and for frontline workers and to support people who've been, really having a hard time there because, like the rest of the planet, but Brazil's really having a hard time. And I also did the same thing for Italy. So with Snowy Shore from Merciful Fate, Dream Evil, Steve Sylvester from Death SS, I got Flagus from Necrodeath, John Gallagher from Raven, and I got Mayara Poetas from Torture Squad because I love Torture Squad, and May is such an amazing singer. So I got May and Maximina Kujanik, who's an amazing tattooist, but also an amazing singer, is going to do a duet with Mayara and Rasmus Bon Anderson, Diamond Head. I got James Rivera from Hellstar, Mark Jackson from Acid Rain, Francesco Corte, Simone Salvatore from Spiritual Front. And we're basically doing the same thing like I did with Prika, but for Italy frontline workers. And it's a Black Sabbath tribute album, and it's coming together. Sounds absolutely amazing. So I can't wait for those two things. But I'm really pleased, and the reason I mentioned it is because Mayara is on there from Torture Squad, who's an amazing Brazilian band, amazing, and I love so dearly. And of course, Aprika from Nervosa, and I know they kind of just Prika's reformed Nervosa in a different way, and Fernanda and Lou have gone and made a new band with Sonia Nusseland, who was with Burning Witches. So it's all going to be quite magical. And and so
that's great.
Yeah,
That's unreal.
Yeah,
Well,
it's from a musical point of view. I mean, we went out with Nervo Chaos. Edu Lane's a good friend of mine.
yeah, they're all friends as well.
Yeah, brilliant people, and so I've got such a connection with the place. When I go, I always see friends. It's like always visiting your family, that you haven't seen for a few years because you were busy or whatever. So my love for Brazil is greatly there. So, but I just wanted to drop there.
No, you have another friend now, and I like to have a couple of drinks with you next time you're here. So we continue with this conversation. I want to know. There's so much to talk about. We also have done something like this small campaign where we sold these masks.
Brilliant.
To get some money for these people, SOS backstage, people that work in the backstage and they have no job at the moment, and we're selling and donating 100% of the. It looks pretty cool too.
It looks really cool. It looks really
we're
cool.
donating 100% of the funds to those guys, and I mean we're doing whatever we can. I know those girls. I know Prika. I know Fernanda. They're great people, and also people from Torture Squad. They're real fighters, and they've been carrying the torch of metal for so many years. So it's great to know that you guys are connected. Eu estava perguntando para ele sobre o Brasil. Ele tem uma relação muito boa com o Brasil, ele já veio para cá algumas vezes. Ele tem uma tatuagem do estado de São Paulo que ele fez uma das últimas vezes que ele veio para cá, que eles estavam almoçando e o cara que estava almoçando com eles era tatuador e falou, eu queria fazer uma tatuagem aqui de alguma coisa a ver com o Brasil. O cara falou, não, eu sou tatuador, vem fazer comigo. Ele fez o desenho e ele falou que ele lembra que quando ele era criança, ele estava numa aula acho que de geografia na escola, e ele viu o professor distribuiu umas revistas National Geographic, e ele estava vendo uma que tinha fotos do Cristo Redentor e praias do Rio, Ipanema, Copacabana, tudo colorido, cheio de vida, e ele morava em Newcastle, aquela cidade cinza, escura, chuvosa, e ele ficava pensando, eu nem sabia que o negócio desse existia. O Tony is a character, you're a character, man, that's why, I mean, I think that the band is going so well today also because of your attitude, and you're the kind of person that brings people together. So it's great to know that, and I hope that you guys can come soon. Wow, you'll be in May. Eles vão fazer o show aqui, mais uma vez falando, dia 29 de maio, em Joinville. O lugar vai ser o Joinville Square Garden. O festival é o Armageddon Metal Fest. Várias bandas já confirmadas, o The Agonist do Canadá, Nasty Savage da Flórida, o Volcano e o Mutilator, bandas clássicas dos anos 80, esperamos todos lá. But I really hope you also do São Paulo and other cities in Brazil. You have to do at least 4 or 5 shows in Brazil.
We will. What we're actually that's going to be that's going to be part of our tour. So we're going to do more shows in Brazil. We're going to do Paulo, Porto Alegre, hopefully Curitiba, Rio, of course. So I can spend a few days on the beach. But that's the whole idea, that when we come down, we play Armageddon Fest and we do some more dates. But I wanna can I do one last thing? And it's
of course
you.
Can do anything, man.
We're recording the new album. So and because we've taken our time, it will be out early next year. I wanted it out this year, but we wrote so much material that we just wanted to perfect it. So it's going to be out early next year. But here's the question. Anybody listening, Brazilian, I think, is legitimate. You have to be Brazilian. And this is for Brazil, competition with these guys. Okay, so how many songs are on the new Venom Inc. record? So we're doing the record right now. There's no clues. But if you guess how many songs will be on there, and then what we'll do is the people who guess the right number will go into a hat. And our friend is going to pull your name out of a hat, and then the winner will get a signed copy of the album in vinyl, and they'll also get a whole package from our fan club and free membership to our fan club where you get discounts. So you'll get a whole gamut of goodies. But
that's unreal.
Maybe we'll pick 3 people if we've got too much stuff to give. But if you can, you tell you that's the competition. You just guess how many songs are going to be on the new album, and if you get it right and your name's picked out, then you're a winner. And when we get to Brazil to do the festival, we're going to bring you up on stage. If you can come, if you can't, we'll arrange you at the hotel, but we're going to get you, we'll take photographs, you'll meet us, and we'll give you your gifts to say thank you. So that's the competition.
Ele acabou de lançar um concurso aqui, uma competição, uma promoção aqui no nossa live do Wikimetal, na nossa Wikimetal Happy Hour. Eles estão gravando o disco, estão terminando de gravar o disco, que se lançaram no começo de 2021, e as pessoas que adivinharem o número de músicas que vai ter no disco, todas vão colocar os nomes dessas pessoas que acertaram o número de músicas que vai ter no disco, vão colocar num chapéu, e eles vão sortear de 1 a 3 pessoas para ganharem um kit da banda, um vinil, o novo disco em vinil autografado, e conhecer a banda, tirar foto com eles, um meet and greet e ingresso para o show e tudo. Então tá lançada a promoção aqui. Quem adivinhar o número certo de músicas do disco novo do Venom Inc., e vai concorrer a esse prêmio fantástico. Vai ter vai ser também ganhar carteirinha de membro do fã-clube, onde você ganha descontos e tudo. I think I translated it right. So, but they got it. People whoever doesn't speak English understood it. So, Tony Dolan, the Demolition Man, what a pleasure to have this chat with you, my friend. And I'm looking forward to having a couple of beers with you down here in Brazil, and we can continue this conversation. And I'm sure that there's so much we can talk about. And I'm looking forward to the new album because, Ave from 2017 is a fantastic work, and we can still listen to that for many years, but we really want new music in the future, and I'm sure you're gonna deliver it, man.
Well, the new album is coming. It'll be early in the year, but by the time I get down there, I'll bring you a copy too. But I think it's better than Ave. We think it's better than Ave, and people will be quite surprised by it. I hope so. But thank you so much for having me on and giving me this time. And like I say, Brazil is deep in my heart. It's like my second home, and to have an opportunity to talk to you and to talk to Brazil and everybody else, thank you so much for this. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. That was Tony Dolan, the Demolition Man, on the Wikimetal Happy Hour. See you soon, my friend.
Ciao. Muito obrigado. Obrigado. Tchau.
Take care. Obrigado a todo mundo que assistiu. Até a próxima Wikimetal Happy Hour com mais um convidado especial. Até a próxima, galera. Tchau.